And we're live. And with me, I have SkepTorr.
Hello, hello everyone.
I am glad that you were able to make it. I enjoyed your videos like Ask a Jew and there's this other video you made outside of Ask a Jew where you were talking about nationalism. I thought that was an amazing video.
Thank you. What did you like about it?
I mean, are you talking about Ask a Jew? I thought it was really funny and humorous, and I was very much entertained. Like I must have watched it a million times. I promise you I shared it everywhere. It was like really funny, like in my opinion, I thought Spinosaurus Skin did an amazing job acting. That's the way it seemed to me though.
You mean it's not Ask a Jew, it's another video called uh, I can't even recall the name of the video. Um, question What do you think when you hear the word Jew?
Oh yeah, that's the one you had like Karen on it. You had Chris Reagan. You had Spinus. Like they were making like a bunch of jokes, like, "Oh, they're so greedy," and it's like the less shootings are, the
You
better.
are
And it's
you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's me or you, but
mm,
the sound is breaking.
it's hard to say. Nobody's on chat for some reason, even though I tweeted it out. Oh, I should probably give you the links and also tweet it out. But I did tag your name on Twitter though. Um, I'll put you.
Are you
There you
downloading
go.
something? Are you downloading something? Because um, the bandwidth is having problems. Are you
I'm not
downloading?
downloading anything, and I don't know if it's from my side or from your side.
Usually it's not from my side. I have a lot of bandwidth usually.
Hmm, I don't know. I mean, too bad nobody is on chat to see which one of us.
Let me just do something here. I just tweeted it out, so let's see
Yeah, maybe
if
people
someone will come in.
Yeah, maybe people in chat could say whether it's from your end or from my end, whether they could hear me perfectly fine and it's you, or um, whether it's really is me.
Okay, so I think we can start nevertheless.
Yeah, sure thing. How would you describe your personality?
Wow, never been asked that before. Um, I guess I'm, like lighthearted. I like humor. I'm an electrical engineer. I don't know if that tells a lot about me, but I usually enjoy a lot of media like movies, television shows, YouTube a lot. I watch a lot of YouTube. And I like to make videos and debate and, argue. And that's it, I guess. I have a very difficult time describing myself, I guess.
Well, I didn't know that you were an electrical engineer. I mean, wow. Do you love your job?
Yeah, I like all my life I tampered with electronics. I learned electronics in high school, and I was a technician in the army, and then I became an engineer. So I guess I've been a technical person all my life.
What do you like most about being an engineer?
The work is interesting. I'm developing new technologies. Actually, I'm a designer, and there is a lot of good people in my office that I enjoy. Just interesting job, good people to work with.
What have you designed?
Um, well, I've designed. At one time, I designed a chip that transmits cable television to your home, and many American companies. I worked for an American company that did it, and a lot of people in America are receiving cable because one component in the system is a chip that I designed.
Yeah. So, do you wish more Americans? I mean, because America's becoming more and more anti-Jew, it seems, as they're trying to
Really?
become pro-Muslim. Do you wish more people knew how the Jews from Israel are helping them out?
Well, I don't know if that is actually true. The United States people from the U.S. have been very pro-Israel. Um, of course, there are some people that are anti-Israelis. Like if you have many of them are, let's say, Palestinians that came to America or people from the Middle East, which is understandable. We're not exactly best, BFFs here. But usually American people are not have nothing against Jews or Israelis, and I've been working with a lot of Americans, never had any problems.
It seems like it's increasing though as of late, especially in college campuses, because people are trying to be more pro-Muslim nowadays.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like how God, it's kind of like how God See Coastal came out as anti-Semitic. It's like I'm anti-Semitic, y'all, and here
well,
is why.
he's the one of the biggest edge lords on YouTube, so he's the exception on that one. But there are a lot of problems with anti-Israel propaganda in universities and colleges. I'm aware of that. I guess a lot of people are angry at Israel because of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and a lot of people just, uh, and a lot of Muslims, it's like, many of them are anti-Israelis and sometimes anti-Jewish because of that.
Yeah, it seems like the rights, people from the rights, like the Republicans, are pro-Israel because of Judaism, and Judaism and Christianity are very
Yeah,
similar.
the Christians are now like, especially the evangelicals. Essentially they believe that we are here to keep the land safe until Jesus will come back, and I have no problem with that. I'll keep the land and keep it safe until Jesus will come back, which I
Yeah,
guess it's going to be never. So no problems for me with it.
yeah, that's exactly the impression that I got from the Republicans. They want the land for Israel for when Jesus comes back,
No, but
and
there are a lot of Republicans. There are secular Republicans, not just evangelical people, and many of them think that they're unapologetic, and they look at Israel, they see a democratic state, an advanced Western democratic state. They see what happens in the Middle East, and like Muslim countries where you have a lot of terror and Islam, and they don't like it, and they don't want. And they're not so tolerant like the left to all these, Islamists. So they naturally side with the Western country.
yeah, and like what I get from the left is that the left, like or at least the far left, maybe it's the far left or extreme left. It started in college campuses in particular. They seem to be anti-Israel and pro-Muslim for some reason. It's hard to understand
It's a
the
part of
far.
the progressive mentality, to be inclusive, to look at marginalized groups. They see, of course, the Palestinians as oppressed and marginalized, so they naturally bond with them better. They don't like Western values a lot sometimes. They don't like capitalism. They don't like, everything the classical West represents. They don't like imperialism. etc., etc. So they naturally, you know, uh, come on the side of the oppressed and the marginalized. And the thing is, it's more complex than that here. It's not just, Muslims are oppressed and, they are just poor people uh, that are being hammered by the colonial Israel or something like that. Uh, you know, uh, it's oversimplification of a very complex issue.
Yeah, I'm totally getting that. Let's see. Have you ever been a feminist?
Um, well, I have never been like, a proper feminist, but I kind of, when I was completely ignorant, I said, yeah, it sounds nice, helping, women get equal rights, nothing wrong with that. And that's, of course, before I knew anything about feminism, actual feminism.
There's a lot of people, including me. Even I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist. I'm a feminist. Oh, wait, this is what it's about. Well, no, no, no.
Yeah, exactly. Um, can I ask you a question that you wrote to me on the chat? I don't want to convey what you wrote to me on Skype, that you were something and then you were not something. That's okay.
Yeah, I was an ex Black Lives Matter. I'm not Black Lives Matter anymore. I was just there at the very, very beginning parts, and
So
that
what made you join and what made you leave?
this is your interview, not mine.
I know, but I want to ask questions as well.
This is your interview, and it's like I'm not the one being interviewed.
Okay, that's fine. Your channel, your rules.
Okay, let's see. Would you describe yourself as an anti-feminist?
Well, I came to the conclusion somewhere. I think I even made a video about this, but I don't understand the need to have labels anymore. I find it to be a bit, useless. You can say that I don't like feminism. I want, the feminist movement and feminist organizations to have less power, much less power. I want it to be out of, in the form that it is today. I want it to be out of the university. If you want to teach about feminism, that's fine. You cannot indoctrinate to feminism in universities. That I don't like. I don't like the fact that feminist organizations and feminist narratives are used to make policies, rules, and they have a monopoly on shelters for domestic violence, rape shelters, etc. Um, so I think that they have too much power. It's a corrosive movement, very, very political, and therefore it's very corrupt. There's a lot of corruption there, a lot of money involved. Naturally, that corrupts. So I think it's a very dangerous ideology because no one treats it like an ideology. Most people, uh, unless the people we consider to be anti-feminists, and they don't understand the dangers in that, which I find to be very problematic.
Mm. It looks like you've eliminated one of my questions because later I was going to ask what problems with feminism that you'd like to see change, like its influence on society, but you've already answered that.
Okay,
Um, let's
you
see.
can ask a different question.
Why did
Instead.
you why did you start a YouTube channel? And if it's different, then what's inspired you to make anti-feminist videos?
Well, what inspired me to do a YouTube channel is, I guess that when I started watching YouTube and realized that there are channels and people making vlogs and blogs and stuff like that, I was very interested in at that point in time. I was very interested in what happens in Europe in terms of the Islamization of Europe, because it began when I watched a documentary by an Israeli uh, specialist to to the world of Islam, and it's actually translated to English with subtitles. You can watch it on YouTube. I can send you the link later. And he went to the worst places in in Europe where you have like Muslim gangs and Muslim neighborhoods, which are like ghettos actually, in Brussels, and I think no, it was Sweden and France, and I think England or somewhere else. I can't remember. So I went into YouTube to look for more information. That's how I found people talking about it. I think uh, the first person I noticed was the Amazing Atheist. He made a video about Islam or something, and then I was always like a sort of an atheist, so he drew me into atheism, and I discovered a few more channels about atheism and all of that, and I wanted to do a channel about atheism. I was very interested in that at that point of time, but the more I watched, the more I realized that everything that needs to be said have been said. There was nothing new to anymore. The religious side of the argument was repeating itself. It didn't bring in anything new, and I think it was all debunked. And from that, decided to make my first video were about Israel and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Um, and from there, I met Sargon of Akkad because I came to argue with him on something when he was very, very small, and we had a hangout. And from there, I started watching more and more content about. I noticed that more and more atheists start to make videos about feminism, like small channels talking about atheism and then talking about feminism. I guess what sparked it was the whole Atheism Plus movement, and you got more and more atheists talking against feminism, and I started listening. And I said, "Oh, okay," and I decided that I agree with them, and therefore I shifted my channel to talk about more social and political issues like feminism and social justice, and I made a few more videos about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and a few more entertaining videos, and that's basically my channel.
Yeah, well, there has been a switch of topics. People were at first talking about atheism and debunking the Christians. Now these atheists are targeting feminists instead of Christians.
I think because the atheists have won. Seriously, I think people like Ken Ham, the banana guy, what's his name? Not, Ray Comfort, and their likes have been, they lost the debate a long time ago, and that's why I think all the atheist channels on YouTube, most of them have given up, the argument, because we all understand that there's nothing more to debate. That war was won fairly quickly in a matter of like a couple of years, and I think the religious people, they're losing. The more the time passes, they're losing more and more people. People are becoming less and less religious, more and more secular, at least from my perspective, my point of view.
Yeah, it does seem like people are becoming more secular. Um, are are you an MRA?
As I said, I don't usually carry labels, but I advocate for men's rights all the time. I like to talk about like the imbalance in laws for men. I like to talk about the discrimination that men face in the West, and no one talks about. So yes, I talk about it a lot.
Is there anything about MGTOW that you've ever supported in one section of your life?
Well, as I said, I'm married. I believe in marriage. The regular families. I don't have problems with the concept of men going their own way. I don't think it's a. I know I don't connect personally. I don't connect to the idea. I can understand why some men would find it interest, attractive. But I think the if you just make it to be don't get married because the laws will later fuck you. Sorry for my language. Pardon my Hebrew, as you say. Um, but beware of getting married because your life may be destroyed if your marriage will fail. So or don't have children. I don't subscribe to the idea of completely shunning women off, and of course, I'm not, for anything which say, all the sometimes you get people in the MGTOW side which truly hate women, or you have a serious dislike of women, or see them as less of, human, lesser humans. Of course, I don't subscribe to all of that. The most important people in my life are, 3 out of 4 are women. My mother, my wife, my daughter. So
Has Israel been negatively impacted by the far left, like feminism, social justice, or have you escaped that?
I think that in some part, yes, they are advocating a lot against Israel. I don't know if feminism has a deep role in that. I guess more like political debates, the left and the far left. People like I don't know if you know people like Normal Finkelstein, and Chomsky and others like them, who are ideologically very left, and so they see the entire conflict from a very very skewed point of view. They are very very biased to one side. Uh, I don't think they are balanced. There are of course unbalanced people from either sides, but yeah, uh, I see a lot of in Europe, a lot of mostly in Europe, a lot of anti-Israel, anti-Semitism coming out because of the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I don't know what happens now. No, I think the attention is more about the Muslims in Europe and less about Israel. Um, and I actually predicted that, like, I guess like 2 3 years ago. I made a video. I unlisted it because it drew in too many people. Too many KKK slash Nazi slash. So I just and I don't fully agree with it anymore. But I predicted, in a nutshell, I predicted that Europe will deteriorate in terms of um, economically, and with all the Muslim immigration that I didn't know it was going to be so bad because it was before all the immigration that Europe is now under. But I predicted that eventually the Muslim population will start to raise its head. More Muslims, more Islamists. That's like an equation, an unavoidable equation. You have more Muslims, you'll have eventually more Islamists, and you'll have more terror attacks. And recently we had like what 5 terror attacks in the last couple of months, even more. It's almost once or twice a week. We had one today, one a few days ago, and another one 2 weeks ago, and it's going to get worse
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, it's getting really, really bad. I mean, what's going on in Germany? Germany seems to be really negatively impacted by Muslims, and even though we don't have, I don't
France,
think,
France, number one.
yeah,
France is the number one country that has been suffering from Islamic terror. If you look at it, you have like a few hundred people died last year in Islamic terrorist attacks. A few hundreds. Like I don't know, 300, 400. That's a huge number.
yeah, it's terrible, very, very terrible. It's getting out of hand,
Yeah,
and
it
right
is,
now,
and it's funny because when I look at what happens now in Europe, I kind of get the sensation of the same feeling I had when the second Intifada broke here. It started, with one riot, then one more attack, then a couple of more attacks, and it just, became more and more. And that was in the year 2001, and it lasted for like 3, 4 years until we managed to bring it down. And in the last year, we had another wave of lone stabbers and lone car people in car just driving and driving over people. So we had like a half a year of such you know incidents every week of people getting stabbed or people getting run over by cars. It was like every week one or two incidents, and that's what I see happening now in Europe, and I suspect it will continue to happen. You'll see, more and more people just stabbing people, running over people, and you'll have more organized terror attacks. Not you in the United States, but people in Europe. And this will shift the conversation away from the Middle East, and Europeans will be focused on Europe. And I guess that when the next economical crisis will come along with it, whole hell is going to break loose in Europe. And but sometimes you need a depression. The biggest economists say that you need a good depression sometimes to fix a broken economy. And I guess that's an inevitable situation that needs to happen in Europe in order for Europeans to start fixing all the things they broke in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, like what's going on? It's like I think recently a Muslim had an axe and he like that injured like over 20 people, and it just seems like the left just keeps defending the Muslim attacks. It's like the only thing the left does is defend them and say not all Muslims, not all
Well,
Muslims.
they're defending the Muslims that are not involved, but they are doing it very poorly. The problem is that the Muslim community doesn't understand that what divides people. I think I saw a video today where a Muslim talked to an Australian MP, and he asked her, about Islamophobia, and you're creating a rift between the Muslim population that is innocent and the other population, like the Christian population. And the thing is, they don't understand that what creates this rift between the non-violent Muslims and the natives is not people from the right. People from the right are just a reaction to a problem. The problem is the Muslim terror, the Islamic terror. This is what what is creating a rift between the two populations. Now, had the uh, moderate or normative Muslims stand up against this, with a clear voice and fight it and say, we'll be the number one people who will fight Islam. They will be the number one people that would, report if they suspect something. They would be the number one people if they find an imam that preaches about martyrdom and becoming a shaheed, like a martyr or a saint if you're killing infidels. If they'll be, uh, in the front line on the war against terrorism, there wouldn't be so much division, and you won't have so many people from the right saying, uh, there are a lot of bad Muslims. We don't want Islam. We want to keep it out. Keep it out. Uh, I don't think that would happen so much as it happens right now. But they don't do that, and that's the problem. They're trying to, stay like neutral, and that's a problem. They need to pick sides. They need to pick a side if they're going to side. You cannot stay in the middle here. They need to pick a side if they're going to side with the West or and Western values and fight for them, or they're going to take the side of the Islamists. It's as simple as that. Excuse me, I need to go for a second. I'll be back in a half a minute. Okay?
Okay. So, let's see. Is there any questions on chat that you guys want to ask SkepTorr later? Because I do take questions from chats. Any questions at all that you have for SkepTorr later? Um,
Yeah. Sorry for that. My family just came back home and I had to open the door. They didn't have a key.
no problem, no problem. You really were going for only half a minute, so it's cool. What do you think of the alt right?
I don't know much about the alt-right, but from what I've seen, they're a little bit quirky in many ways. They have a lot of good points, but I don't completely subscribe to all their ideas. Sometimes they're too conspiracy. How do you say? Consp
Conspiracy theory?
yeah, like yeah, you get what I mean. I can't form the word in my head. Conspiritual or something.
Yeah, let's see.
Take for example, Black Pigeon. Sometimes it gives a lot of great content, and sometimes it, sounds too much a bit on the conspiracy theory too much. So
Do you wish that more people were interested in politics?
I don't know seriously because I don't trust people's most like the regular people how if they can choose the right thing. A democracy has a problem. Most people don't know what is good for themselves, what is good for the nation, what is good for the state, and that's why a republic is a very good compromise because you don't have people deciding with democracy. Look at Brexit, for example. I'm not saying anything about Brexit, but the people decided what to do, if to leave or to stay, instead of a group of people who are let's say they understand this issue better than most people because it's a very complex issue, and you can vote for people and they will do what is best for the country, not necessarily what people would the popular vote. So I don't know if more people should be involved. Maybe they should. Maybe if more people were involved in politics, then probably people wouldn't. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, good. You can hear me. So I did not know if I had my mic muted or not. You did have a great video called Nationalists and Multiculturalism. And I mean, it was a really great video. I mean, it's some of my all time favorites by you. I mean,
Thank you. Well, the point of the video was to make people understand that multiculturalism and nationalism are not necessarily at odds, and also that you cannot ignore a very, very human trait, which is the in-group, out-group mentality. A lot of people despise it or think it's like we can evolve beyond it, and I think they are too optimistic. I don't think you can. I know, like for example, if you know the skeptic feminists, they are very ideological and they try to put that what like a rational morale on top of everything. They completely ignore the natural tendency of the human nature and try to grow quote unquote beyond that. But you cannot have it on a large scale. You can never have this on the general population. You can never convert all people to become morally ideological. Most people won't have that, and so you need to deal with reality and be practical. And I don't think they are practical in that manner. So an in-group out-group human, it's a human trait which will not go away, and you need to consider.
Really, it's never gonna go away because I mean that's one of the
No.
leading guys of occults. Like one of these signs of occults is an us versus them mentality.
Uh, an in-group, out-group, yeah, it's kind of an us versus them mentality. It's something which is natural in human nature, and there's an evolutionary reason for that. You would prefer to, if you need to make a choice, you'll prefer a family member over a stranger, or someone from your tribe, or someone close to you over a stranger, which is completely natural, and it has its facets. So you can imagine that when people were like, in prehistoric times, like 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, such a trait would be very beneficial in terms of evolution. So it would have, people like that would have a better chance of surviving. Morality was not something that would help you in these times. Being altruistic to strangers. And
Yeah,
you kind of look at what happened to a lot of societies in far history, where you had like a small village of people who were welcoming and non-aggressive, and suddenly some army from somewhere of very aggressive people just came in and killed everyone. You know,
yeah. Unfortunately, so have you ever been very religious?
no, I came from, my parents came from religious families, but they were not religious, and I guess I grew up, learning about God, perceiving Him as like uh, something that exists without questions. But when I was like in my early 20s, I realized that how much bullshit there is behind it, and I kind of turned into an atheist without calling myself one. I guess I started calling myself an atheist once I started watching a lot of YouTube videos about atheism.
Let's see. I'm trying to get some questions from the chats. Oh, here we go. Mr. Box asked, ask Skep if he thinks that Israel serving in the military helps preventing them from being money SJWs later.
The answer is definitely yes. um, I guess that when you go to at age 18 to a military, first things first, the military will turn you to be, it will grow you up emotionally. So you won't be like you need a safe space. You'll grow out of it very quickly in the military. You are very much learning how to behave in a complex social issue where you have a lot of people who need to cooperate, and they don't like each other and they don't know each other, and you are put it you they put you in barricades with like 40 other people, and you need to work together if you don't want to suffer a lot during your time in the military, and that really changes you. Um, and I guess that it kind of gives you a perspective on what's important, what's trivial. So I guess, yeah, in a sense, yeah.
What are your predictions for what's going to happen in the West? Because I remember you had this video, and I forgot the title of it, but you were talking about Israel in how it used to be towards the left, but how all the Muslim attacks pushed it towards the right, and how the Jews in Israel starts fighting to protect themselves. And I thought you said towards the end of it that you think that something is going to happen similar in the West, that people would start to find the left idealistic and unrealistic, and people would move towards the right.
Well, you actually see it already. You see a lot of right wing, yeah, and even far right wing parties gaining strength in Europe. It didn't used to be like that, and I believe that if we'll see more immigrants coming into Europe, and the economy would, start to be, deteriorate, and a crisis will come, and you'll have more terror attacks. Eventually, yes, it will turn Europe into a much more right-wing uh, continent. The problem is it might take a lot of time. Uh, it might not happen, but you already see it happening in the small scale. It happened in Israel very quickly because what happened, we got a lot of terror in a very short period of time. I mean, the second Intifada was a bloodbath. We went from having peace accords and peace talks with Palestinians, and everything was in a way, like everything was good, quote unquote. It wasn't all good because we still had terror attacks, and then suddenly we got like suicide bombers killing hundreds and hundreds of people in a short period of time, just 1, 2, 2, 3 years. And so we shifted very quickly from left to right, and then we shifted back to the center and a little bit to the center left, but then everything failed. And I think the reason now the right is in power is has two reasons. One of it is that on the left side, you don't see anyone who can replace the current government. There is seriously a lack of good leadership in the left today. The people there are, very, very mediocre politicians. They don't fit to run the country. And moreover, the left has become more and more left. The left in Israel, the central left, is called the Labor Party in Israel, and it used to be a very centralist party. And now you get some social justice warriors, in the top 10, and suddenly this party sounds more and more like left leaning. And I think they try to make themselves look like they were trying to be more centrists, but it didn't work. People were just not convinced. And so this is the problem. We don't have an alternative, a good alternative right now. I guess that if like we have like a few new leaders, which would be respected by most Israelis, who will be give the sense that they can run the country, like strong politicians, and they would not be so left leaning, just central and a little bit left leaning, then they would pose a competition. But right now, it's impossible.
Yeah, right now the left, even in America, the left is just a little bit too far left. It seems like it's happening ubiquitously. It's just like even in Germany, it's kind of like the Muslims are a protected class. Like the Muslims rape women, they sexually harass women, and it's kind of like what's like 2,000 or 1,200 women got raped and sexually assaulted in Germany, and all these rapes are happening, but it's kind of like they're a protected class, so they just get off with a warning. And it's what would get you in jail is saying anything bad about Muslims, because if you say anything bad about Muslims, then you're a racist. So it would give you a jail cell, and it's kind of like there are laws against hate speech. It's kind of like it's having opinions would give gets you in jail in Germany, but not rape and sexual assault. That's
Well, the problem is that the left has climbed to to a very tall tree, up a very tall tree, and they cannot come down. There's no ladder for them to bring them down anymore, and the only thing that would bring them down is the people cutting off that tree. If you want an analogy, I think that I've talked to Kraut about this, and he predicts that Merkel would not be elected in the next elections. I think, well, in England, you can see that they are voting for a conservative party, although it's not so like right wing, but they are centralists in a way, and it's the Conservative Party. It's not like the Labour Party in Britain, which is elected. The Labour Party is not anywhere near getting elected to be the ruling party, and Corbyn will not be the next prime minister. He's far from being that. So I guess we will see. I don't know what will happen in France, because France would be the most interesting to see what happens if the terror attacks will continue in France, and I suspect that they will. If the French people would, change the government and elect a much more center and even center-right government. I don't think Le Pen will ever win in France, but I think that someone will come and shift the tides. And once that happens and Germany will not have Merkel anymore, then you'll see a change. Regarding the United States, I really don't know what to say. If Hillary would be elected, I don't think she actually represents the progressive left, because I don't believe her. I think she's just playing them. I think she's a terrible liar, like a good liar, but she's a politician, and she's corrupt and dishonest. So I don't think she really represents women. I don't think she really represents feminists or progressives. She'll just represent the big corporations.
Yeah, Hillary is a liar. I mean, she actually started off to the right. She actually was a Republican Goldman Sachs girl, or I forgot what it was, but I mean, she I think she was in favor of segregation, and I think she was against like Martin Luther King and shit. But I mean, um,
Well,
I
people change some of their opinions over time. This is normal. From then when they were young to when they become older. Usually, it's people becoming more and more conservative. When you're young, you'll typically be more left wing and progressive, typically, and as you grow older, you'll become more centralist or even more conservative. That's the typical route. Some people do it, swing the other way, but it's not typical. I guess what she's doing is she's just playing for votes, and she's looking at the map and thinking, I can win the democratic elections if I'll um, convince enough people from the left that I'm their candidate. And if I'll say vote for me because I'm a woman, and I'll get more votes for that, then why not? You know,
yeah, it's just like
lip service, basically.
like Andy Senior Mini Bagel and the Amazing Atheist did her political mapping or whatever, and it turns out when you look at her in a political map, she's very far right because like she voted for like in favor for every single war. She seems like more to the right than most Republicans.
And in terms of economy, it would go the same way. She'll be a pro-capitalist, a pro-corporation type of, you know, if she'll be president, then president. If Trump would be elected, and I'm dying for Trump to get elected, I don't know if he is fitting for the job, but I know that the world would be much more interesting to live in if he will be elected. I don't think it will harm the United States if he's elected. Maybe he won't be the best president ever, but at least we'll have, at least 4 fun years, fun-filled years.
Yeah, I just hope that if Trump does get elected, he doesn't make any of the major decisions. Like, I hope that's the House and like the Senate just takes over, or like other people just take over, and maybe somebody could just give him advice, and he could just follow the advice of
Well, the
us.
thing is, I don't think he's stupid as many people would like to believe. I think he's very sharp and he has a good sense of business. And I don't think he's dumb. He has a big mouth, that's a given. But I don't think when it comes to running stuff, running, systems, he's that awful as some people might think. And I guess if he'll get elected, we'll, you get to see him at work and see what happens.
Even if he does have good people skills, it's like running a country is different from running a business.
I don't know. In many aspects, it's very similar. Um, in many aspects, is I don't know if he's a like a good statesman. I don't know if he understands international politics very well. But when it comes to running a country from the business sense, I think there he can have some strengths. So yeah, he might, fuck up when it comes to international politics. And Obama, who is supposed to be like a great statesman and a diplomat, and he won the Peace Prize and all that stuff, he was an awful, terrible statesman. He was an awful, terrible foreign, in foreign politics. He's completely shit. I mean, look at how Putin makes him look like a pansy. What happened in the Middle East because of him? His zigzagging policies.
Yes,
So yeah, when
he
it comes to international politics, I think he gets like an F in
he
my
might,
book.
he might have won the Nobel Peace Prize because he's the first black president. I mean, but in all actuality, he's the first mixed race president. But he still gets stuff for being the first black president, though.
I think he got the Peace Prize because of his speech at Egypt before the coup, before they brought Mubarak down, and they ascribed the Arab Spring to his attitude towards at least in some part, he's responsible for the Arab Spring, which later became the Arab Winter. And all the troubles that we have now in the Middle East is maybe because of his, you know, foreign policies.
Is there anything that you wish your audience knew about you?
I guess that everything that I wish the audience to know about me, I put on my videos. The rest, I kind of tend to keep a private life. I don't usually want to talk about my private life because that's not interesting. There are a lot of interesting topics to talk about. I'm not one of them.
What was the most fun part about doing those parody videos? Like, I mean, it's kind of like, what was the most fun of doing like Gentiles' view of Jews?
I guess that writing it and then compiling it was the best parts. Usually, when I make a video, the worst part of making a video is recording audio, and because I'm terrible at English, as you can see, I'm not so fluent when I speak. I need to translate from Hebrew to English all the time, and I can need to keep recalling words. And I make a lot of grammar mistakes, so I need to write everything down. Then I need to read it, and then I listen, and I notice that I make a lot of mistakes when I'm reading it, and I need to record it again and fix it, and it's a hassle. I hate the audio part. I fucking hate it. Sometimes editing is a bitch. It's hard to, I want to have like a picture or something happening on the screen, and sometimes it's very time consuming. So and it's a very, menial work. But when you're telling writing something on paper and then just sending it to people, and then they just record it and give it back to you, and you get something different from what you saw in your mind, and then you think about how to compile it in a way to make it look good. I guess that's a lot of fun. You
Really,
write. Go ahead.
your English seems very good to me. Like, we haven't had any communications problem during your interview. I understand everything you say. Your grammar is fine. You're not mispronouncing anything.
Yeah, I know, but believe me, I'm struggling very, very hard, and I'm listening to a lot of people from Europe talking in English, like German people, and I'm envious a bit because I see them, going on Hangouts, and they can just go on a 10-minute rant without stopping and not, failing for a second. They are very eloquent. Take for example, I mean, take for example Crowd and T or V. Their English is superb for someone from Romania or someone from Germany. Well, Germany, it makes sense. Take Sandra Guy. Sandra Guy is Swedish. She sounds like a born American aristocrat. He's so fluent in English, he never fails for a second. He sounds like Dr. Randomer can, almost. So, yeah, I'm envious that these people can speak so eloquently and so fluently without struggling, and I'm struggling a lot.
Really, I can't tell. And when it comes to Crafton T, he's half British. His father is British. And when it comes to people from Scandinavian countries like Finland, Sweden, they always tend to be good in English. Norway, Scandinavians always seem to have a knack for language.
Maybe it's something with I noticed that I find it hard to do a proper accent, either American or British or whatever. I'm trying to do an American accent, but I can pull it off. And the reason is when you grow up as a kid, your entire, speaking system is adjusted to the native language that you speak. So some people, they grow up, like for example in the Eastern Europe, they will have trouble pronouncing certain letters, and the same goes for people in the United States. They have a problem pronouncing some vowels or consonants that we have here in the Middle East. And of course, you can take Chinese people, for example, how hard it is for us to pronounce anything in Chinese, Japanese correctly. So I guess that the problem is my language is much more far from English than I guess maybe Scandinavian languages. So it's much more natural for them to speak in English and sound like British people or English people or Americans.
Actually, when I spoke to my Japanese friends, they tell me that my Japanese is pretty good. It's kind of like they also say that I get rewrites, which most Americans don't get. Rare. It's like
Hmm.
most Americans can't get the rare rights, but they say like, "Well, like I'm really good at it." It's because like I've been getting like a lot of practice, and my friend was like, "Try this re," and it's kind of like I just been practicing, and it's kind of like my pronunciation has been getting like really better, and it's kind of like, "Watashi wa aruんですよ。よろしくお願いします." It's kind of like you
Hmm.
just keep at it practicing, and the more you
Yeah, you need to practice a lot, and need to have like a good musical ear to as a feedback, because if you're tone deaf, you won't be able to notice the small innuendos in the. For example, I studied a little bit of Russian, and this girl tried to teach me how to pronounce words properly, and they have like these small innuendos in the language, like and it's like completely different things for them. And if you don't have like a good ear, you won't be able to notice it and pronounce it properly, and you
yeah,
need to practice a lot.
the most difficult parts about Japanese, which makes Japanese extremely difficult is that it's kind of like you, because they have many similar words like kami for hair, kami for God, kami for paper. You had to change your tone. You got to go from like kami to like kami, and it's kind of like, but it's kind of like you got to be very concise, and it's kind of like it gets confusing, or it's kind of like, it's kind of like because they have like so many similar words, or like same, basically the same. You got to change your pitch for basically I guess the similar thing we have in English would be minutes and minutes, where minutes and minutes are spelled the same but pronounced differently. With kami and kami and kami, you just gotta go from, you have to have flat pitch for one, raise your pitch for the other, and lower your pitch for the other. So it's kind of like, this is really
Yeah,
confusing.
exactly. And Far Eastern languages are very musical in that sense. They have like the long vowels. Hello. You need to keep it going. Like namaste. You need to keep it long like this. And how. It's different from how. It's how. So you need to. So you don't just read it. You need to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, not only that, but Japanese have words like that are so similar. It's kind of like you just have that one extra O or that one extra A, and it's kind of like I was saying Ohio, and it's like no, 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 that is wrong. It's not Ohio, it's Ohio. It's like didn't I say that? No, you said Ohio. It's not Ohio, it's Ohio. And it's like what? It sounds the same to me. Or it's kind of like kawaii and kawaii, and it's kind yeah, it's like my Japanese friends are saying it's different. That it's not kawaii, it's kawaii, or it's like it's not kawaii, it's kawaii. You're like pronouncing it wrong, and it's like man, it sounds all the same to me. It's like no, 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 it's totally different. Kawaii, scary. Kawaii, cute. You Americans keep saying scary when you're trying to say cute. And it's like, well damn, this is confusing.
Well, at least they don't have to sit, in a meeting, that you have like an online meeting with people from the other, you're sitting in one room, they're sitting in another room, and they'll speak English in an Indian accent or a Japanese or, heaven forbid, Chinese accent. You won't be able to understand a single word that they're saying. It's that sometimes they swallow words and vowels, and you won't be able to make anything out if it's over the phone.
Yeah, yeah. Some people have terrible accents, but I mean, for you, your practice has been paying off. I had no problem understanding you. Your grammar has been good. Your pronunciation has been really good. I had no problem with understanding you.
Yeah,
So
I know that you can understand me, but I wish I would be much more fluent and didn't need to struggle to keep it up.
really, I can't tell that you're struggling.
Well, 1 point for me then.
Yeah. Well, anyways, are there any questions for SkepTorr? Any questions from the chat? Do you
Well, the
guys?
problem that I think that most people in the chat know me already, and they're like my friends, so I get to talk to them a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like Omega is
Yeah,
asking.
Omega is give me your shekels. Yeah.
No, no, it's like, why does his SkepTorr love me? So I guess we're just getting the silly, cancerous questions. Maybe it's because,
No, Omega is a friend. That's fine.
yeah, I guess it's because people are already your friends. They already know you very well. So that's probably it. Everybody here is your best friend or a good friend. So
Yeah.
maybe that's it. Yeah, I'm still hoping that we've gotten people who probably didn't know much about you who had a question.
Probably they'll listen offline and won't have a chance to ask me questions. They'll have to tweet at me or something.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess we'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. No problem.
Good night.